Before you hit publish, there's one step you can't skip: editing. But what kind of editing do you need for your book? In this video, I'm going to break down the different types of editing, whether or not you need to hire an editor, and whether self-editing is a good option for you. So let's break it down. There are three main types of editing that every book can benefit from, and each serves a very different purpose, starting with developmental editing, which is a service that I offer. So developmental editing is perfect for both fiction and nonfiction writers. It can happen while you're writing your manuscript or once your manuscript is complete. As a developmental editor, I'm first looking at your manuscript from the perspective of the target audience that you're seeking to attract, as well as the genre that you're writing in. And then from there, I'm looking at the structure, the tone, the writing voice, the pacing, is it engaging, and answering any big picture questions that you may have about your manuscript itself. Developmental editing is going to answer questions like, is my writing good enough? Am I ready to publish? Are there any gaps in what I've written? Additionally, for fiction writers, it's going to look at the plots, the character, and any key points that are missing from your manuscript. Developmental editing is perfect for all authors, whether you're a first-time author or a more seasoned author. However, I highly recommend it for first-time authors because it's going to answer so many of those questions that you have about your manuscript. Next up is copy editing, which is the most common editing that most people are talking about when they think about editing. This is that detailed sentence level work. This is where you're going to be focusing on grammar, punctuation, spelling, and just making sure that your sentences are polished. This is not about those big picture issues that I was talking about earlier. This is more about making sure that your sentences are structured correctly, that they're concise, that your writing is professional, and things of that nature. And then finally, there's proofreading. Now, this is the last pass before your book is ready to publish. This editor is going to be looking at your manuscript for any remaining typos, misspellings, or formatting issues. This is where all of that is going to get corrected because there will be some things that slip through. You also have to keep in mind that as you go through each one of these edits, whether it's from developmental editing to copy editing to proofreading, every single time you go through one of these edits, it's likely that you're going to be doing some rewrites. So when you go in to do rewrites, there can be additional issues, I should say, with spelling, punctuation, and formatting. So proofreading is going to capture all of those. All right, so now that we know about the different types of editing, I want to answer some of the more common questions that I get and see as a developmental editor. So one of the more popular questions I get is, how do I know what type of editing I need? So as I shared earlier, I recommend that all authors start with developmental editing. However, if you feel pretty confident about the structure of your writing, whether or not you're meeting the needs of your target audience, it will really depend on where you are in the writing process. You may start with copy editing. There's never really a time where you would start with proofreading, but it would either be developmental editing or copy editing based on how confident you feel about the writing that you've currently done. Can I skip one of these steps? While technically you can skip one of the stages of editing, I don't recommend it. As I said earlier, each step serves a very unique purpose, and skipping a step can leave your book with glaring issues that you may not even realize, and then when those reviews come in, then you'll recognize that you should have had one of these different types of edits done. So if budget is a concern, then my recommendation would be to prioritize developmental editing or copy editing over proofreading. Should I hire a professional editor or should I self-edit? Self-editing is a great first step that I highly recommend. You can use the spell and grammar check within your writing software to start this process. However, I highly recommend that you hire a professional editor because as the writer, you're very close to your work, and there are so many things that you're just not going to catch because you're the one that did the writing. As a professional editor, we're going to catch those things such as flow, consistency, and structure. So I would recommend you start with self-editing and then hire a professional editor in the final stages. How much should I budget for editing? So editing costs can vary based on the type of book that you're writing as well as the length of the book that you're writing. So in most cases, when you approach an editor, they're going to ask you, what is the exact word count for your manuscript? And then from there, they can provide you with a quote. Now, in terms of pricing, developmental editing is more in depth, whereas proofreading proofreading is just kind of a passover of your manuscript. So proofreading is going to be a more affordable type of edit. But editing costs can vary from $500 to thousands of dollars, depending on, again, the type of book that you're writing and the length of your book. So if you have a shorter book, that'll be in the lower range. And if you have a higher word count book, like 80,000, 100,000 words, that'll be in the higher cost range. Can beta readers replace an editor? So beta readers are awesome and I highly recommend them, but they are not professional editors. Beta readers are avid readers within your target audience that are looking to provide you feedback before you get to your editor. Can one editor do all these different types of edits? This is probably one of the most popular questions I'll get. I may get someone to ask me, can you do developmental editing, copy editing, and they may even throw in formatting for a little razzle dazzle. While there are some editors that will offer multiple edits, as I said earlier, each one of these edits is not only a different stage, but also a different focus. So you really want to get an editor that focuses on a particular type of editing. The other thing that you have to consider is, as I said earlier, each one of these edits will send you into a rewrite with the exception of proofreading, which is your last and final pass. If you go to someone and they are handling developmental editing and copy editing, and then they hand it back to you, and then you go into rewrites, your rewrites will not benefit from the copy editing or the developmental editing that they already did. It's important that you remember that these edits happen in stages. You also have to know that you're going to be so inspired and you're going to have so many new ideas that sometimes that initial manuscript that you provided to your editor during the developmental editing stage will be a completely different manuscript once you get to the copy editing stage. So you want to make sure that you're doing this in stages and hiring someone that focuses on each one of these different types of edits. One more thing that people always ask, how long does editing take? So the answer varies depending on the type of book you've written, as well as the length of the book that you've written. And as an editor, I can also share that it also depends on the workload of the editor. But in general, it should take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks to complete. So now you understand the basics of editing. I hope it allows you to make an informed decision and create a book that you can absolutely be proud of. Make sure to like and subscribe to my channel so that you can get more writing and publishing tips just like these.